Hey, everybody. Michelle is back. I think this is number four. Number four, January 30th, 2026 on a Friday. Uh, I'll I'll name these things later, but this is number four video on a series of topics that's, if we don't address ASAP, I mean now this year 2026, by the time we approach the dawning of the age of Aquarius, on February 3rd, 2029, there's going to be irreversible, even more irreversible effects and consequences of what we're doing. At the same time, a lot of people are going to lose their lives based on pure ignorance and pure unknowing, whereas we have pseudo scientists and pseudo entities of people who think they are the know-it-all, the intellectual talking heads. Usually they have no idea what the hell they're talking about, and that's intentional. They want to keep you suppressed, keep you depressed, keep you isolated, keep you out of the knowing of who you are, what you are, and why you are. This has been going on for decades, at least 2,000 years or more. Whereas there's a certain amount of knowledge you're not supposed to have, because it belongs in the hands of the religious communities, belong in the hands of the politicians or the law enforcement, all of those other government entities. They're the ones that are supposed to have all of this suppressed knowledge, and not you. Okay, you're not supposed to know these kind of things. You're just supposed to do what you're told. You're supposed to be overwhelmed, which a lot of us are. You're supposed to be tired. You're supposed to be exhausted. You're supposed to be busy, 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 constantly running here, running there, handling this, handling that, overthinking, ruminating how you're going to pay your bills, how you're going to provide for yourself, how are you going to lose all this weight. Okay, is this going to go on and on and on and on? And that is the intention, to keep you focused on your weight, keep you focused on the size of your nose. Okay, keep you focused on your hairstyle. Okay, keep you focused on, whether you know something or you don't. And in most cases, you don't know. You don't know what you don't know if you don't investigate, research, and figure it out on your own. You have to. Okay, this stuff I'm telling you is self-education that you have to make room in your life to understand it. And it's very simple to do. I'm talking about basic stuff that does not require people to get all worked up and all upset, but it's happening. And the reason why we're divided is because we have the haves and have-nots, of course, but we have the know-it-alls versus the curious wanting to know. It's that intentional divide. So I saw this, there's this group I used to participate with. There was a so-called spiritual group. And this group, we were mostly, you see how things change? It was more of a discussion board type. Whereas they had no idea who I was, what I was, or if I even existed, really. They had no idea of that. They didn't realize that some of the people that were conversating in this discussion group were bots, BOTS. But I conducted myself accordingly, and I handled myself accordingly on this group, even though I was attacked. And even the person that they were supposedly so in supportive of, they were attacking him too. And I don't want to say his name. It's not that I'm attempting to hide who he. It's going to be obvious, okay? And I'm not attempting to ride the coattail of anybody. These are my thoughts. These are my words. And so I don't want anybody to feel as though, I'm riding the coattails and jumping on bandwagons. That's not the case at all. And it's been proven. There's evidence of that. These are my own thoughts, my own words. Whereas I don't want anyone to be hurt behind what I'm saying, and you won't. That's not going to happen. I don't want anybody to feel divided from me. What I talk about is inclusive. I'm talking about universal love on a grand scale, which has been divided and made into commodities. That's evidence and obvious. And that's why we have a transgender community that's being highlighted and talked about. And that's intentional. But at the same time, that particular community is in a crisis. And I'm attempting to sound the alarm. Some people may say it's hate. phobia, that's not coming from me. Okay, that's not coming from me at all. I'm talking again. What I'm talking about is basic knowledge that if you apply your own thinking and figure it out on your own, you'll come to a similar conclusion that I have. That this is an intentional indoctrination, and dividing us is how certain individuals, usually politicians, religion, so-called billionaire boys club, blah, 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 pseudoscientists, that's how they make their livelihood. They make their livelihood because of our divisiveness. If we were inclusive, genuinely inclusive in the true sense, there would be no need for war. There would be no need for dictators. But that is what the attempt is, to silence and silence people as such. Back in the day, say even 20 years ago, 30 years ago, if I was talking the way I'm talking about certain topics, yeah, I would have been taken out. But there was an attempt to do so, though, in 2022. But I documented all that, and it was in 2022, around 2000. Yeah, in the year 2000 and 2022. Well documented. I've documented. The young people will be able to explore it, and artificial intelligence is going to help to make a correlate. We're going to attempt to merge it together somehow and make it into a timeline to support what I have been saying. But again, when I was in that so-called spiritual group, there were plenty of gatekeepers there, plenty, and it wasn't the responsibility of this particular teacher to be monitoring adults. It wasn't their responsibility to be paying attention necessarily to this group, to know what the hell they were doing and talking about. Every now and again, there would be a moderator to come in, a moderator that, will come in and kind of, imagine just sitting on a discussion board and all you see is just a series of texts going by. So what has changed now is that everybody's doing everything on their cell phones, with cameras and talking into their cell phones like I'm doing now, to give you a visual effect as well, because you need to be able to use all of your modalities when you are self-educating yourself anyway. So on that group, I remember when I was in that group, and everything would be going so well, and as soon as they start talking about Israel, okay, that's when everything will just fall apart. It will fall apart, and that kept happening over the course of it was almost every year. I came into that group around, let's say 2008. Let's just throw that out, 2008. And then I finally left. Oh gosh, I think it was 2022, maybe 2021 is when I decided, okay, it was, sometimes those decisions have to be made, where I said, no, it just did not change. And then like I said, I became the target, whereas they started targeting me because they had an assumption about who I supported and who I didn't support, because they didn't know until I told them that I was a black female. They had no idea. Okay, and then when they determined, I don't know if they determined that I was a lesbian or not. I don't know if I shared it with them, but I know in that group, once I decided to leave it, it split it off. There was a particular group of people that split it off into another group, attempting to kind of pick up where this group was, attempting to improve where this particular group was falling apart. I knew it was going to fall apart eventually, and it did. It was dissolved, and that was the end of it. Stand by. So that particular, so I was a part of a particular spiritual group, and I knew, it was a cult. It turned out to be a cult, CULT, cult-like members. And I told you the major organization they claimed they were supporting had no idea that this was a cult being generated. They may have known, but they wanted us to figure this out. It was a cult, and they were attempting to so they may have been monitoring this group, but again, we were adults. And so when I was in that group, again, they didn't know I was a black female until I shared it with them. And prior to that, they had been treating me, they had been treating each other unkindly and just, going after me about this and going after, because I wouldn't fall in line and listen to this bullshit that they were putting out and disseminating. And then they were all coming after me, attempting to interfere with what I was saying and da 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 da. So eventually, again, I knew over time that group was gonna fall apart, and it did. A lot of people fell on their faces because it was proven evidence of a cult. It was a cult. Okay, everybody centering around this one man who thought he was a know-it-all and thought he was such a tough guy, and this guy was barely 5 feet, which doesn't mean anything. But I mean, it's that projection that he. Yeah, here we go. So many things are going on around here, because in this area where I live, there's a lot of construction going on. And so they're making a lot of repairs, because this is an old building too. Okay, just wanted to see what the hell was going on, where that noise coming from. Okay, stand by while I wash my hands. So yeah, there's some noise going on, and I'm not sure where it's coming from, but I'm gonna figure it out in a minute. Again, this is an old building, so they have a lot of issues going on, but for the most part, they're attempting to. I think these buildings are built, I know that these buildings are built better than they are now. The foundation is a lot better, even though all kind of noises is going on. And usually the noises, with the infrastructure. That's why I say pay attention to your infrastructure, your plumbing, your electrical grid, all of these things that are happening right before our eyes. Attempt to resolve it before a major storm comes through and wipes it all out. Okay, because of the fragileness of it all. So I'm gonna stop this video right now. I didn't want to take it too far. I'm gonna come on back. I'm gonna say so many things that it's gonna require a deep discernment. As they say, dismiss your ego, please. Okay, and just dismiss your labels. Okay, it doesn't matter what you are, whether you are gay, lesbian, transgender, a Buddha, Christian, Catholic. It doesn't matter. Just suspend all of this while you're listening to this. Otherwise, you're gonna miss it, as we have for thousands of years, missing the writing on the wall, as they say, literally, figuratively, and metaphorically. So I'm gonna stop this right now. See if I can figure out what this noise is, and trust me, I will be back.